So I didn't highlight them in this clip, but I pretty much picked up every item around them. It's that remote and a charger for a medical device. A lot of the times these items don't carry a value, and I usually pass. But my curiosity got the better of me. I came back around later in the sale. I went ahead and I scanned them and found out that they did carry a great value. If you're interested in the value and how much I picked them up for, be sure to stick around to the end of the video when I go over it. The RV handbook that I just pulled out of the shelf that I went through carried a decent value that I knew I could resell. Later in the sale, when in another part of the house, I was putting the book down and noticed that it had water damage on the bottom of it. So unfortunately, I had to leave it behind.
Wait a minute, I gotta build it. You know, she's gotta start working.
He's got credit. He's got credit. All right, well, let's get it all in.
Oh, so you need a refund? Sure. Well, then here, just take that. Check it out.
So I spotted this VHS DVD recorder from Panasonic in the living room, and the price point on it was $250. I just showed you a couple of the comps that it's going for, and this one actually had the remote, so for resale, this would have been an excellent thing to pick up. Now the price point, even at 75% off, was still kind of high, so I more than likely probably would have made an offer to the house at this point because there was only half an hour left in the sale. I was wondering why I was sitting here for so long, but one thing I can always tell you is test these items before you leave the house if you can. I always go ahead and I switch over to VHS and DVD, and case in point, I go ahead and click the button for the DVD drive to open, and it's just not opening no matter how hard I try. So I found out that that's the reason that it was still there, is that everybody turned it down because the DVD side didn't work.
Watch it brush it off in my shirt. There we go.
Driver, stay on. Well, let's start touching it.
So this was the shed of this house. It was filled to the brim with model airplanes and airplane parts. This person was truly an enthusiast at heart about model airplaning and could really show it right here in this part of the house.
Fishing rod.
Did you count how many model airplanes that guy had? He had an entire shed full of them. The guy that owned this house was a passionate model plane enthusiast. He had hundreds, if not thousands, of magazines. He had blueprints. When we went into that shed, we had all those wings and pieces and parts. He had an entire shed, part of his house, a part of it. But that is truly someone who's an enthusiast and has truly enjoys their hobby. I can totally relate. I enjoy model railroading. I did try to get into model planes at one point, but I literally threw my first plane, hit a tree, and demolished my plane. So I realized that model railroading was less involved. But when you do have a passion like he did, your house is going to be full of your passion. The first room that I went into in this estate sale before I even got to that shed was full of all of those model airplane magazines. And also a lot of different electronics and boxes and not, but also a couple looked over DVDs, games, and PC games, in which I found Real Flight 6.5. Now, the day that I went to this estate sale, it was literally... This estate sale was from 12 to 2 on the third day. This was the last day of the sale, like they were done. They were calling it at 2 and that was it. It was 75% off, not even 50%, 75%. They wanted $15 for this game. I could see why nobody bought it at that point. It's a little bit overpriced for a PC game. But more than likely they went online to find out how much this was worth so they could price it. You can get $30 to $45 just for this simulation plane game. What you always want to do is you always want to check it has its manual. The disc is in great condition. I picked it up for not even half of 15, so I picked it up for like $5 or $6. And if I could turn it into 40, then hey, that's a win. So I picked that up in my very first room. I went through that closet. I went through the house. I had seen pictures on estatesales.net that there was some type of shed with model airplane stuff in it, and knowing that they're into a hobby, meaning there's going to be a lot of peripheral around it that you can find a lot to buy. Before I made it into that shed, and right after I had left this room, within this room I had gone back into it, and I had found these two boxes from Boston Scientific. Now you have to be careful when you do sell medical equipment online on eBay that it can be taken down, so there is risk involved with selling items like this. This one was a charging system, and this one was a remote control kit, so it's a remote control and a charging system. All their pieces and parts were inside, which I was very thankful for. I had brought it to the checkout table at the end of the day. I said, hey, I would like to buy these two, and they said, hey, there's more pieces and components to that. And I was like, oh, in reality, I knew there was, but I wanted these two pieces. So they went in the other room, two of the estate sale workers, and I believe they had a private conversation as to wanting me to buy this whole bundle, but it being at this point in the day, I don't think anybody else is going to buy it, and I'm here wanting these two pieces. They come out to me, they say, are you sure you don't want anything else? And I go, no, I'm happy with what I have here. The other pieces were not worth the comps. And they said, hey, we'll give you $5 a box. Sure, no problem. I'm perfectly happy. I'll take it for $5 a box. And they kind of looked at me odd, like, what am I going to do with heart monitoring stuff? But hey, if somebody else could use it, I'm going to make sure that I can get it to them. This goes between $50 to $80, and this goes between $50 to $80 as well. And for $5 a piece, I was happy to take a chance and see what happens. And usually this sells, at least in the comps, it was selling rather quickly. Now, I had gone through the house. The kitchen was kind of a bust. The living room there really wasn't too much for me. The bedrooms really didn't have too many things. But when I got out to that shed next to the pool, and this shed was rather hefty for this house, I was kind of in heaven. I enjoy modeling myself, and I was really surprised to find as many pieces and parts of these models that were left. There's a great market for pieces and parts of models on eBay. I think that's what saved model railroading, is because people couldn't source it at their hobby store, and the internet could bring them any piece or part or train. And the same thing with model airplaning. I was really surprised that nobody before me had looked into these pieces, and there were engines and pieces and parts all over the room. And then on the bench over to the right, I had noticed there was a bunch of remote controls, and the remote controls are really a part of it. They're one of the most expensive pieces. So I gathered up all the remotes so nobody else could take them off the table, and I went ahead and I looked through the bin of chargers. Now, if you're not familiar, it can be a complicated situation. With every plane size come different size batteries. Because of weight, they need to design the batteries a little bit differently, so they have different chargers for them. So the chargers are hard to come by unless you can go to a hobby store or on ebay.com. So I went ahead and I looked this up, and this is a charger for one of the battery packs for one of the airplanes in that room. They wanted $5, but 75% off. I'm paying like $1 or $2. Can't complain. This was going for $20 to $25, just the charger. I was like, sure, no problem. So I put it in my pile and I began to look up the remote controls. There was about 5 of them. The very first remote that I knew I wanted to buy was this Spectrum DX4E. The official model number is DX4E. And the cool thing is it has its manual. So I noticed that the price point was $50, and on the first and second day, this is very expensive for a remote. This is eBay pricing for this remote. This remote does go between like $40 to $50, but with 75% off, I was very happy with that price point, because not only did I get this remote from this brand, and did it have batteries in it? Sure did. So I knew that it would turn on. I went ahead and I flexed all the buttons. There was a little bit of rust in the corner, but that's perfectly fine. Everything moved accordingly. Nothing was really too stuck. Everything was perfect. Not perfect, but everything functioned, and that's what you need it to do. So I went ahead and I knew I was going to take this one. And then I found the same brand, so I thought, hey, there might be value in this brand. And this looked like it was a newer version of the remote that I had. I went ahead and I tested all the little components and parts and made sure that they all functioned and worked. Now this one did not have batteries in it, so I will put batteries in it to test it. They wanted $50 for this one as well. So what we would do is I would bring these to the front at 75% off. She goes, what are these? I go, they're remotes to the model airplanes. And she goes, you want those? And I go, this estate sale company really doesn't know what I'm really doing here. I'd like to buy everything in my basket, and they don't want me to have the medical things, and they're confused why I'm buying these. Maybe they're just newer in the estate sale and they don't realize there might be resellers, but I was like, yeah, sure, I'd like to buy these. She goes, okay, they're $50 each. What about $25 for both? Sure, $25 for both, no problem. I should be able to get anywhere between $50 to $80 for this one. I should be able to get $40 to $50 plus shipping for this one. The wire I got and the other one comes with the manual and the scientific medical that I got and the game. This estate sale was great. I was very happy. There was also a VHS DVD recorder that you might have seen me take a look at for a little while. That would have been worth it, but the DVD player did not open, and that's why you always want to test these things before you buy them. So between the remotes and the equipment that I picked up and the total price that I paid, I walked away with knowing that I was going to make my money back, and I knew I was going to make even more on top. So it was a highly successful estate sale day, but not only that, I got to see somebody else's passion for modeling and hobbying model airplanes, which was really neat and really cool. That I got to not only purchase the remotes, but I got to kind of see it firsthand and look through all the blueprints. So it was a fun day out at this estate sale. As always, if you liked my video, be sure to click that like button. If you saw anything that I might have missed at this estate sale or had any questions or comments, be sure to leave them down below. If you really, really like this video, go ahead and click that subscribe button, but also tell your friends about it. As always, my name's Tom, and this has been TRB Collectibles.